Well, hello and welcome to episode 36 of our backyard garden here in the South Carolina upstate. It's October 10th, 2024. An airplane going over right as we start speaking. It's a beautiful day, about 75 degrees, clear blue skies. No effect from Hurricane Milton here. That is in Florida. We've gotten a lot of questions from the north about whether that was going to affect us or not, and it really has not, obviously. So we're very thankful for that. We're still trying to recover from Hurricane Helene. So anyway, we'll take a quick look around the backyard. Not a lot of changes since last week, but a lot of flowers doing really well. We'll start with daisies here, which are still in, I'd say, pretty close to full bloom. This will probably be the last week of full bloom, and then by next week they'll be starting to wither a bit. I think our cleome are now officially done for the year, or at least most of them. We do have a few. Most of the ones here, in fact all the ones here that started early are done. The ones down here in the stones that started a little bit later, they are still giving us some color, which honestly, for flowers like this to still be blooming in the middle of October is fantastic. So we're very happy with that. We've got some over here. And the funny thing is, we still have, I think, from seeds that have come from flowers that have already bloomed, we're getting a lot of new cleome plants all through here growing up in the stones. They seem to really enjoy living in the stones. So I'm sure we'll get a lot next year as well to take the place of these. Coming over to the main part of the garden, we have hydrangeas down through here, which are really finishing up. All the color is largely gone now in favor of brown, so not much there to look at. We have a couple little flowers on our butterfly bush. Some zinnias down through here. This is a really nice little flower. A friend gave us this, and I don't have a name for it. If anybody knows, we'd be happy to hear. But it's done really nicely since we put it in the midsummer. More butterfly bush blooms here. Our azaleas are doing really well here in the fall. I did not think they would be this bright, honestly, or this prolific. This is almost, at least on this plant, almost as prolific as the spring, which is really cool. And they're great because they're so bright you can see them easily from the house. And then of course we have our impatiens, which are going to hang on probably until the first frost, whenever that comes. Last year it was pretty early, around the middle of October. Sometimes we're lucky and it doesn't come until into November, but we're going to keep doing these videos as long as there are flowers to look at. Got some begonias through here which have done really well. These red ones have done actually very, very well this year. We had some pink ones that have a couple of flowers, but not a whole lot going on there. And then as we come across to this side, everything over in this area is pretty well done with the exception of this one rose, which is still giving us some nice blooms. And it has not been as prolific as in some years. We had a beaver kind of chew on that earlier in the year, but I think it'll come back next year. It's interesting how nature adjusts to things. This is a big knockout rose that was eaten down to the ground by a beaver midsummer, but it has come back already and it's just covered with roses, rose flowers that is. And I don't know if you saw in the background there, a heron just went by, huge, almost prehistoric looking bird. But this should make a full recovery and be covered with flowers next year, which is great. The fact that it was knocked away and kind of gave all these irises a chance to come up. They have really bloomed, or not bloomed, but they've grown back to a point where they used to be before that plant had gotten so big. So we'll see what they do next year. It should be interesting. And through here we have a lot of red zinnias, more of the daisies. Our climbing roses are getting a second wind, both the red ones on the left side, the pink ones on the left side, on the right side. And then we have more vinca over in here, some clematis, which are doing really well. A couple different types, both pink and white. Coral and pink colored roses back in here, doing really well. More zinnias, more vinca, more daisies, and another butterfly bush, which is hanging on. It's giving us still a few blooms, not a lot left, probably another week or two of that. Big gardenia here. This will bloom over the winter, probably in late January and February. And then back in here, a lot of weeds that have sort of taken over, but this area is largely done. We had some zinnias in here. I think they kind of drowned with the water from the hurricane, but we have a few here that are still blooming. Very pretty bright purple color. More zinnias over in here, just a wide variety of colors from seeds, some marigolds in the back. And our one area that tends to struggle over in here, we do have a wisteria that's hanging on. Maybe it'll do better next year. This year it hasn't done a whole lot. We do have a really nice dahlia here, remarkable, almost like fire type color. That's one of very few blooms that we've gotten from that this year. For the most part, that area of the garden has not done so well. I always like mentioning our the hydrangea in our neighbor's yard here is bright blue one. Most of these come out in the spring and early summer, but theirs is more of a fall orientation to it, which is kind of interesting. Kind of hard to show off this part of the garden at this time of the day with the angle of the sun, but these are all canna that are pretty much done. A lot of them are bent over here from the wind from the hurricane. Still getting a few flowers. Now, I thought the canna were completely done for the year, but we still have some flowers, so they're hanging on. The ones with the darker leaves and the red flowers did not do too well, but the lighter green ones with the yellow flowers did pretty well. Other things down here in this terraced area were black-eyed Susans, which are pretty much all done. You see the seed pods here. We had daylilies and irises and so forth. They're all finished for the year. And so not really a whole lot to show off down in this part of the yard. We're gonna head up to the top. Definitely a quicker video at this time of the year because there isn't as much, a lot of things finishing up. I would have liked to have done a video a few days ago when this was fully in bloom. This was a rose with just a whole mess of these beautiful lavender and purple roses, very fragrant. It's one of our most successful roses. Most of the roses over here are largely finished, although having said that, we do have one here that's got a huge bloom on it. Just absolutely beautiful. And then of course marigolds from seed, zinnias from seed. We have a few scattered things like tomatoes, and then this clematis, again, primarily a spring vine, but it is covered with flowers right now. This is a Nellie Moser variety with the pink and stripes, lots of buds on here, so we're going to get more color for a couple of weeks at least. And then coming across more of the same. Unfortunately, this area is so choked with weeds, there's not a lot to show off here. The tomatoes are kind of hiding back in there. There's one that's ripe, but the tomatoes have not done anywhere near as well this year. I think the heat has really suppressed certain plants that would have otherwise done really well. But we do have some nice, I mean really nice lavender roses back in here. absolutely gorgeous. And if I remember correctly, I think these are fairly fragrant. I was wrong. There's not much fragrance at all, actually. But here we have, again, more zinnias, and then this huge climbing rose. And this is all one plant, amazingly. And it's just got all these flowers on it, and it just keeps blooming. And it will until we get the first frost, and then it'll be done. So that'll be coming up I'm gonna guess either in a week or two. We're supposed to get down to about 40 degrees one night, coming up soon. And then it warms back up, but it really could be any time up until early November, and we'll see. If it comes soon, we will have flowers for about another week. If it comes later, it'll be maybe 3 weeks if we're lucky. I should mention too, we're not quite there yet, but we're just starting to see some color across the way. There are a lot of deciduous trees on the far side of the pond, and once we get a little further into October, it usually is really colorful, and just a beautiful palette of color looking across there. So we'll try to get some of that onto the videos. And here, I'm just going to show off. I have one nice cherry tomato, actually a big one for a cherry tomato. That's really the only one that was ready. Got some others down in here that are trying to grow, and it's been a small crop this year. Last year I think we had a couple hundred tomatoes, maybe more, and this year it's really been probably under 50 that have been even close to edible. So that's it for this week. Like I say, a little shorter video, but still a lot of color, and we will keep doing this as long as we can. And so hopefully it is sunny wherever you are, and until next time, happy gardening.